So since Ilan Ramon and the Columbia Space Shuttle tragedy, Israel hasn't had the opportunity to send any of its citizens to space. And this year, in coordination with the Ramon Foundation, former Israeli Air Force pilot and entrepreneur Eytan Stibbe is going to become the second Israeli in space when he flies to the International Space Station as a private astronaut. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Eytan to speak about the scientific experiments and educational outreach and everything that he's planning to do while he's in space.
Thank you very much, Kovi. And the person you just interviewed, Garrett Reisman, the astronaut, he's to blame for me deciding to go to space, because he was managing the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft program, and I visited him there. And then when they succeeded first time to connect and bring people to the International Space Station, I just called to wish him success, and he said, "You're the next. You're going next." So it seemed like a dream, and it still is part of a dream, because the mission will take place only a year from now. But I feel it's an inspirational mission, and the closest expression that I would like to share with everyone here is the Van Gogh Starry Night, if you don't mind to show it, Kovi.
Just pulling that up now, 1 second.
Okay. There you see the unclear lines. It's a mix of imagination and reality. It's blending of the hills, of the village, nature. It's blending of all these into the sky, being one part of it. On the left side, just left of the tree, you can see the ISS painted into there. But he was really, this is really inspiring and showing the connection that the sky and earth go together. It's not that you go to space in order to research only space travel and the moon and Mars and all those programs, but it's all lots of the work performed on the ISS are to better life on Earth. So I just started my plan. I'm going to space probably in a year from now, and I would like to share with you how I'm preparing myself towards this mission. And coming from an investment background, I'll bring to you the tools that I use for impact investing, which I'm doing for many years now, providing essential infrastructure and services to frontier markets, to underserved communities. And from that, I'm trying to build the mission in the best and have the largest impact of my personal mission on society. So the first step is really to define clear objectives and measurable results. So the areas that we decided to focus on are three: innovation, which is not only technological, which is a very natural focus of space-related activities, but also on academic research, on arts, humanities, storytelling, anything that can inspire people to dream, to do better. The second sector is education, more to the younger generation, to join STEM studies, to dream, to believe in their dreams, and get more and more involved in whatever they have in mind and creation, and not only to become an astronaut, but to see that things can be achieved and involve more and more children in the educational sector. And the third, if you can press again, it's obviously the cooperation. The ISS is celebrating 20 years, has celebrated last year 20 years of continuous people being on the station, thousands of experiments. So the cooperation, Kovi, if you can press another button, is starting with involving more and more government agencies, sharing and cooperating between private sector and government, public sector, which is this case. This is a natural development. The private sector getting more and more involved in the space exploration is very similar to other sectors like water and energy, where initially government would start, finance, and perform, execute, and later the private sector stepped in and started taking over, and until a stage of investment, complete investment by private sector. And here we see this trend, and I see it as a very natural development. So the cooperation is between government agencies, between Israeli agencies and private sector and international, like we see here all over the world. We will be an international team, and we will have cooperation of all space agencies from different countries, the European, the Russian, Japanese, Israeli, obviously. And hopefully have a really successful international cooperation. So we use in our impact investment, Kovi, if you can go to the next slide, we use a tool which we call the Vital Impact Diamond. So it's a tool where we define the 4 main angles, which are the beneficiaries. Who are the beneficiaries of this mission? And there we want to plan on to reach more and more children and young people. In the innovation side, we want to reach the startups, all the industrial partners all over. And in the cooperation, we wish to really reach global cooperation, awareness to better life on Earth, and get more and more people involved in the mission. Then, for example, in essentiality, the question is, can such an effect be achieved through another tool? Are there alternatives? This is a question we ask ourselves in order to decide what to do and which experiments to carry out there. Our focus on innovation will be tech for good. So things that will do experiments, will take technological experiments to space, mainly to prove that they are good for society, they are good for developing countries, for developing societies, and that basically improve the quality of life of people on Earth. One important aspect of the whole mission is affordability of services. So I'm a sincere believer that the start is very expensive. Space travel the cost will be reduced by competition, by more and more people wanting to go there and understanding the advantages of such space travel. And then locality is about, from my point of view, it's more involving more and more Israeli companies. Israeli companies are less involved in space exploration. There are very few. I believe there will be more and more, not only in satellites, but in communication, in life sciences, and many more sectors. And the last angle of intrinsic is, well, I intend to devote all my time there on the International Space Station, promoting these impact objectives. So the question in intrinsic is whether, if I would spend more time in space, if it would have a larger effect, if I would go to the moon or to Mars, if that would even have a larger impact on society. I believe that the answer is yes, but we will study that and come with a plan for me. Then the next phase would be the measurement. Okay, so we defined the tool, we have the tool, we defined our objectives, what we're going to take. We have a scientific committee, educational committee. These committees will select from all the choices of proposals that will be presented. They will select which of them are best to take with us according to this criteria. And then we'll measure. And the measurement will be basically in two aspects. The first will be outputs, how many experiments, how many people got involved, young people that took part in the mission, how many industries were involved, how many government agencies took part in the mission. That's easy to measure. The tougher thing to measure, and this we are challenged by, is to see the long-term outcomes of this investment in this mission. So, how many agencies will increase their involvement in the space sector? Will the budgets for education grow in this sector? Will there be more startups in the space ecosystem? How many children will prefer to learn STEM studies? And so forth. And I believe that our first step, our first private mission to space will trigger more, will trigger competition, will trigger innovation. All this will make the sector more efficient and more accessible to everyone. And last, not least, if you can show the next slide, Kovi, once we have all the mission defined and defined our measurement of output and outcomes, we will try and align the work we're doing with the United Nations Social Development Goals. There are 17 of those. For example, water, purification projects, answer SDG 6, affordable energy, clean affordable energy answers SDG 7, and climate action, obviously, which will be the next global challenge after the COVID is disappeared, is gone. No hunger, producing better nutrition, food, which is done continuously in the space station, and so forth. So we will compare and check the results of our experiments with the United Nations SDGs. And as I started our short talk, I really see the close link of the space, of the work done in space to our life on Earth. Thank you very much for listening.
Eytan, thank you so much. I think everybody can see from what you just showed how much of a huge impact and how much potential there is behind this educational mission, and how much good science we're going to get out of it as well. And I really look forward to seeing all the content, all the videos that you put out from space. It'll be especially great to show my students so they can see an Israeli astronaut live in space. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you.
Most of the children that I meet, they ask me, will you speak Hebrew when you're there? I told them, yes, I'm going to speak to you in Hebrew live from space.
You'll have to teach the other astronauts Hebrew as well. Well, thank you so much for your time, Eytan. I really appreciate it. Next, before our next speaker, we're just going to show a short video about the Space Tech 2021 conference that's happening tomorrow, which will highlight space industry and research here in Israel and around the world, with guest speakers including Gwen Shotwell of SpaceX and Charles Bolden, former NASA administrator. So we'll now show you a short video about that conference tomorrow, and then we'll go to our next speaker.
Welcome to Space. We are thrilled to invite you to Ramon Space Tech 2021 conference. The conference is powered by All Seated. Let's take a look. Our venue is located on the moon. Once you enter it, you can go directly to the main auditorium, where you can hear talks from SpaceX presidents Gwen Shotwell, Ellen Stofan, Sarah El Amiri, Charlie Bolden, Michael Sufardini, and of course the second Israeli in space, Eytan Stibbe. All around the floor, you can find booths of the top Israeli space companies and understand how they changed the world. At the heart of the conference are professional workshops by the world's leading space experts in the fields of agri-tech, medicine, radiation, AI, air and water recycling, habitats, and more. Each workshop will be in a room named after one of mankind's greatest space programs: Apollo, Gemini, Mercury, the Shuttle program, and Artemis. You'll be able to step inside and learn from these experts all you need to know about opportunities in the field. The main hall is designed as a space bar on the moon. Here you can network, chill, and enjoy the vibe of this amazing conference. See you on January 25th.